Hey guys, Ron here, and now that the air is cooling down in the northern hemisphere, the days are getting shorter, and the cinnamon and spice is seeming extra nice. It's time to get cozy and tell some scary stories. But given that this is True Green 7, you'll know that we'll be turning those stories into Pokemon. On the internet, a scary story that's been shared around like a chilling meme is called a creepypasta. There are a bunch of creepypastas and other famous ghouls that the internet has popularized, and I'm gonna try my best to turn them into pocket monsters that make sense in the Pokemon franchise. These characters are obviously a little tougher than most to translate into a video game made for kids, since a vast majority of Pokemon are not bone-chillingly scary. Even the creepiest Pokemon look like they can be befriended, so we're gonna make sure to do the same for these horrific-looking characters. But before we begin, I want to finally create a Pokemon based on today's sponsor, Raycon. They've been a proud sponsor of True Green 7 for many months now, and I personally don't think it was a coincidence that exactly when I started telling the world how Raycon's everyday earbuds offer the same audio capabilities as the bigger name brand companies at half the price, that they immediately released a bunch of new vibrant colors like green, with beautiful cases like the sunset one I got. It's as if they made these for me. Green and the sunset are like my two favorite things on earth. I'm not exaggerating. And not only do they look great, but they support wireless charging, so you don't have to take those protective covers off to get 90 minutes of battery life and just 10 minutes of charging. Raycon loved my previous ads so much that they enthusiastically came back into my house and said, "Ron, my boy, we heard you're turning brands into Fakemon, and we desperately want to see our lovely everyday earbuds represented in your art style." So I started working night and day, designing this Pokemon to showcase the everyday earbuds' active noise cancellation, super long battery life, and multi-point connectivity. Don't forget the 3 customizable sound profiles, touch features, and complimentary set of different sized ear gels that come with the earbuds. Oh, I know. It's perfect for my lifestyle, since whenever I leave the house, my favorite hobby is going on a walk while listening to Pokemon music, and the everyday earbuds are literally made for that. That's why I went ahead and designed Ocarina, the frequency Pokemon, a water rock type. This Pokemon's tough hide can glisten in a plethora of colors. It produces marvelous music from its multiple blowholes. It can crush a battleship with a discordant cacophony. I love how its general shape and multiple colors are like 100% inspired by the new everyday earbuds. So if you want to finally get a hold of the earbuds that inspired Ocarina with all their sweet features at half the price of other brands you know, go to buyraycon.com/truegreen7 to get 20 to 50% off site-wide. It's a no-brainer. I'm going to begin with the most famous and technically the most relevant in Western society, Slender Man. It's this supernatural entity that originated from a meme in 2019. Slender Man is a tall, pale-skinned humanoid with a featureless face. Dude just appears in the background of photos where he stalks and abducts children, often using his illusions. The character gained further notoriety after 2 12-year-old girls stabbed their best friend because they thought Slender Man would harm their families if they didn't. This case sparked widespread coverage of mental health and, of course, made Slender Man a household name. Okay, not real. I mean, it became famous enough to inspire a horror film in 2018. But let's remove the real-world facts and basically just focus on this character's appearance and powers. It's a very Lovecraftian monster, so combined with the fact that Slender Man can manifest these tentacles, I'm gonna give it tentacles. But I'm not gonna stop there. Since I don't want it to literally be a faceless man, I'm gonna take inspiration from the glass octopus and simply make it a manipulative octopus that is in the shape of Slender Man. Since you can see its internal organs, I'm gonna make what appears to be a human head actually be the brain of the Pokemon. So I'm basically drawing an octopus with tentacles that combine into what seem like 4 limbs. When attacking, these tentacles split. The head of the octopus is see-through, so you can take a peek at its brain. The transparent head around the brain looks like an astronaut helmet, making the entire design appear like an alien. It has patterns on its chest that look like a tie-in suit and lights where suction cups would be. As I refine it, I'm working out a location for the patterns so that it's clear that this Pokemon doesn't actually wear a suit. For now, the eyes of the octopus are next to the head, but in the final design, I migrate them so they look like they are on the shoulders of Slender Man, basically combining it with the lights it has next to the eyes during this stage of the design process. Beware, Slender Range, the devious Pokemon, from Slender and Deranged, a dark psychic type with the abilities Levitate, Pressure, and Infiltrator. These rare Pokemon are difficult to spot. They can turn their entire body translucent, allowing them to hide in plain sight. Once they creep up to their prey, Slender Range emits psychic waves that tranquilize those around it. It then comes out of hiding, revealing its true form and clasping the hands of its victims who willingly follow it back to the forest. What looks like a human head is in fact Slender Range's brain. Its suction cups illuminate its surroundings and disrupt digital signals. The bug and fairy Pokemon in its natural habitat often intervene when they spot Slender Range dragging its soon-to-be victim. Slender Range is considered one of the few Pokemon to be truly evil. Its shiny is closer to the original color palette I wanted to give it, which mimics the look of a sepia tone photograph. I'm glad I was able to find a way to make a Slender Man Pokemon without just drawing a literal Slender Man and calling it a day. The lighting is also super cool. We don't have to look far for the second inspiration. We're actually looking from inside the Pokemon franchise this time. Lavender Town Syndrome just so happens to be one of the most famous creepypastas around. We all know how creepy Lavender Town's theme is. It's so eerie that an urban legend surrounding the theme was inevitable. The Lavender Town Syndrome creepypasta claimed that in the late 90s that hundreds of kids in Japan offed themselves as a result of listening to the in-game music, which apparently included high-pitched notes that only kids would hear. As this legend spread online, it was accompanied with images of the Pokemon Tower Ghost, Unknown, Jigglypuff, and more. So what if I finally created the Pokemon that is responsible for those high-pitched frequencies that only kids can detect for some reason? A Pokemon that is responsible for the gloomy atmosphere of Lavender Town. So, to incorporate the imagery of the creepypasta and to make this Pokemon look like an amalgamation of early Gen Mons, I started off with what looks like a Jigglypuff and Unknown hybrid. The eye is actually a giant speaker on his face that blasts sounds. This is a tiny guy that camouflages around Lavender Town and secretly plays the music that you hear in the game. But so that it's its own Pokemon, I did away with the Jigglypuff references and combined it with a Grim Reaper. Even gave it a cute scythe tail and a rib pattern motif on the belly. I tried to incorporate the patterns you can find on the wall of the Pokemon Tower, but that felt too complicated for this tiny Pokemon to have, refining it before adding the colors that most of you expected. Check out Frequency, the noise Pokemon, a ghost, normal type, with the new ability High Note, which gives a 30% chance of confusion to any sound-based move it uses. Frequency are Pokemon native to Kanto's Lavender Town. The sound waves that they produce vibrate at a frequency that disrupts the light around it, concealing its appearance. It hides around cemeteries where it sings at a high tone that drives people insane. In battle, it creates a wall of sound that protects it. If its opponent is able to come close, it finishes them off with its sharp tail scythe. These Pokemon were only discovered a decade ago, after Team Rocket raided Pokemon Tower. Its shiny is a flipped palette that makes it look blood red. I like the implication that once Red appeared in Lavender Town, these Pokemon revealed themselves and actually befriended humans. Since they are responsible for the Lavender Town's theme, their discovery is kind of the reason Lavender Town's theme sounds more optimistic in the Johto games. I think this successfully looks like a Gen 2 Pokemon that would have totally been expanded upon once you return to Kanto in a Gold and Silver postgame. Cute Pokemon with morbid lore are super popular, so I think this is a win. Now, if you didn't understand based on the intro, this video isn't only reserved for creepypasta and will include various figures in the online horror sphere too. A huge community that helps create a bunch of internet urban legends is the ongoing collaborative writing project known as the SCP Foundation, a fictional secret organization that details the capture, containment, and studying of various paranormal and supernatural entities, known as SCPs. SCPs are basically these scary cryptids that usually defy the laws of nature, making them extremely unpredictable and uncanny. On their wiki, you can find countless pages describing various SCPs and how to deal with them, as if there was an actual scientific journal that contains the truth of these anomalies. The first SCP ever written about was SCP-173, also known as the Sculpture, literally a living concrete sculpture that can move at high speeds. It can't move when you look at it directly, but it will attack if you blink or look away. In real life, it's just some creepy sculpture someone took a picture of, but how do we make this into a Pokemon? By combining it with other ancient figures. Claydol is an example based on the Dogu, but there are other like the Dogu that were sculpted, so I'll basically be making a ghost sculpture, and perhaps even find a reason to keep that signature painted on face. So I'm making this crumbled concrete sculpture that now crawls around all quadrupedal style. Its limbs or bones technically are rebar, and then even I was surprised that I went ahead and made him double cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon. It works though. It helps give this creepy distorted monster a bit of, a cute personality. The eyes are actually gems, and eventually I added some patterns I saw on this ancient Japanese sculpture. Even the ears and expression are from these sculptures, which helped it look like a monkey and justify the stance and even the butt. The patterns painted on it resemble some kind of fire ritual, but obviously they're inspired by SCP-173. Behold, Concretin, the sculpture Pokemon, a rock ghost type with the abilities Cursed Body, Lightning Rod, and Mold Breaker. Concretin are statues made by a long-lost civilization, possessed by the ghost of vengeful spirits. They crawl around abandoned ruins, using their exposed rebar to climb. They are quite shy and will stop moving when spotted. Their speed is astonishing. They are rather sluggish, but will become extremely animated in battle. Archaeologists believe that the fire painted onto their forehead represents their will to fight. This one was tough since I don't think Pokemon would do something like this. It's definitely more grotesque than a majority of Pokemon, but I think making it monkey-esque was a neat way to include the colored butt. I'm sure someone finds it cute. And finally, we're dealing with Siren Head, which is often mistaken for either being a creepypasta or an SCP, but is simply a horror creature designed by the artist Trevor Henderson. It's this 40-foot creature that resembles an emaciated human with a pair of sirens for a head. These sirens emit various noises like white noise, radio broadcasts, human voices, and of course, sirens. It hunts humans by hiding in the woods, mimicking voices and sounds, and even attacking with sonic blasts. But my favorite pieces of Siren Head media are simply the various short clips that look like real candid footage where the creatures are roaming around near civilization. It looks apocalyptic, but we're gonna do the opposite route and simply make a tall plant-based Pokemon with 2 bell-shaped flowers for heads that produce lovely sounds. Nothing evil, so we can end on a positive note. Okay, now imagine Siren Head, but each part of its body is made up of something a plant would have. So long limbs that are basically just roots, a body made of bark, and some leaf accents, like the collar. It's a fancy man going on a stroll. Some flowers for its 2 faces, and some leaves as hair. I went ahead and made one face happy and the other content. After I refined it a bit, I gave him some vibrant colors. It's basically Siren Head on opposite day. Say hi to Narcissiren, the bell Pokemon, from Narcissus, the narcissistic mythological character, and the flower named after him, as well as Siren, a grass fairy type. Narcissiren skip through forests and fields singing their song. The range of their voice is incredibly wide. Their 2 heads always harmonize with each other, and when they argue, their melodies are discordant. In battle, they let out all sorts of frequencies that mess with their opponent's balance and even perception. When angered, they will menacingly tower over their foe. Their height alone is enough to intimidate most threats. Bird Pokemon will often perch on their head and sing together with Narcissiren. Every solstice and equinox, a group of Narcissiren will form a ring and sing together to usher in the new season. I think this is the most clever of the bunch. A Pokemon that Game Freak would make, while having the literal silhouette of a horror character, is a nice little prank. It's like the opposite of Siren Head's personality too, which is a neat twist. But I bet it's not a twist that you enjoyed this video, so leave a like if you want to see a potential part 2, or subscribe and check out my other Fakemon videos regardless. Take a look at the description for all the music I used, my Twitter, and Patreon, where you can see my videos days early and get discounts on the t-shirts I made for you guys. You can do that by becoming a member too. I'll see you guys very soon. Bye bye.